I'm Professor Slasmatode, your coach of the Golf Gummies, and I'm going to be talking about my draft for the FDL League. I'm going to be doing another video after this one, going over everyone in my section's draft and explaining how this league is going to work. But in this video, I'll just be going over my Mons.
With the 11th pick in the FDL draft, the Guelph Gummy select Palafin, physical attacker, Paldea region.
You can't get much more of a solid core Pokemon than that.
With the 14th pick in the FDL draft, the Guelph Gummy select Wo-Chien, support, Paldea region.
And this is where I made my first mistake in the draft. I panicked. I wanted Wo-Chien. 100%. After drafting Palafin, I wanted Wo-Chien. I've played with Wo-Chien almost for the entirety of this regulation. I love playing with it, and I'm very comfortable playing with it. But I really overestimated where it was going to be taken. I asked afterwards where people were thinking about taking it, and no one was thinking about taking it here. So he probably would have been there if I waited until round 3, probably even later. And I feel like this kind of hurt my draft going beyond this point, but I really just rushed it in my head. If I wouldn't have drafted Wo-Chien, my initial plan was to always draft a Water, Fire, Grass first 3, just for that solid core. You can never go wrong with Fire, Water, Grass cores. What I should have done is first pick should have been Palafin, like I did. Second pick should have been Volcarona. But in this next little bit, it was brutal for fire types going. Arcanine, Talonflame, and Volcarona all got selected during this next little period coming back to me. The 3 best fire types that weren't Paradox Pokemon, gone. So what was I supposed to do? Who was I supposed to take? I thought about it. I thought about what was going to work with my team. I thought about what Pokemon I haven't used before, and I wanted to try something new.
With the 35th pick in the FDL draft, the Guelph Gummy select Ceruledge, physical attacker, Paldea region.
Monster physical attacker. Little slow, but he does have some priority with Shadow Sneak. So having 2 priority Mons, Palafin and Ceruledge, it's a good Fire, Water, Grass core in my mind. I was very happy with this. I really would have liked to have Volcarona, but Ceruledge is a good silver medal.
With the 38th pick in the FDL draft, the Guelph Gummy select Glimmera, special support, Paldea region.
My next pick, I needed a Pokemon that I could pair really well with Wo-Chien. And he was sitting right in front of me. The Pokemon that everyone has been pairing alongside Wo-Chien this entire regulation. I love using Glimmera with its 2 very good abilities in Corrosion and Toxic Debris. There's so many different ways that I can use it, so many different sets that I can put on it. So much viability and so much power. I can either run it bulkier and go stall with Wo-Chien Glimmera, or I can run it more offensive and leave the Wo-Chien at home and just go crush.
With the 59th pick in the FDL draft, the Guelph Gummy select Pachirisu, support, Sinnoh region.
Coming up to my next pick, I was starting to get a little bit stressed out. A lot of the redirection Pokemon were already taken. Indeedee Female, Mousehold, Amoonguss, Toedscruel, Volcarona, and Vivillon were all taken by this point. I needed to get a redirection Pokemon if I wanted to have a solid team. The last good redirection mon that was available that I could have picked was Pachirisu. Former world champion. This thing's job is going to be to pull attacks.
With the 62nd pick in the FDL draft, the Guelph Gummy select Espathra, speed attacker, Paldea region.
I went with a Mon that was part of my original plan, and a Mon that I was excited to use, also needing a Pokemon that was also a very good special attacker. I picked Espathra. Espathra has a whole bunch of different sets and things that it can do, with super high speed and special attack. Putting it next to a Pachirisu, or even a Wo-Chien, I'll be able to redirect attacks, help Espathra build up some boosts, so I can use moves like Store Powered, or I can use Lumia Crash to do massive damage and then follow up with another massive damage the next turn. I was super happy to get a Espathra with this pick, and I feel like it really helped complement the team at this point.
With the 83rd pick in the FDL draft, the Guelph Gummy select Sableye, Prankster Support, Hoenn Region.
My next pick was another Pokemon that I wanted in my original plan, Sableye. In my head going into this pick, I needed a Prankster Pokemon. I was stuck with a couple of different routes that I could have gone at this point. I only had one pick left in this tier and 3 Pokemon that I wanted. Those Pokemon were Sableye and Klefki for Prankster, just being able to get some status up and be able to just do whatever I want and make sure I go first. And the other Pokemon was Pelipper. No one really was going any weather at this point, and I felt like this could have been a good jumping off point for me. There was Barraskewda and lots of good other Weathermons still available at this point, and it would have paired up really nicely with the Palafin. But I just decided that Sableye fit the needs that I had on my team a little bit more. And with some of the Pokemon that I selected after, I feel like I am a lot happier with this pick than I would have been if I would have gone down the route with the Pelipper.
With the 86th pick in the FDL draft, the Guelph Gummy select Haxorus, Physical Attacker, Unova Region.
My next pick is the only pick that I say I regret making. As soon as I sent this pick in, I knew I didn't really want to do it. I knew it was going to be a Pokemon that lots of the time I look at it every single week and I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to do with this. Like, it's a good Pokemon, but it kind of just does a lot of the same stuff that my other Pokemon do.
With the 107th pick in the FDL draft, the Guelph Gummy select Ursaring, Physical Attacker, Johto Region.
I am so happy. I saw this pick coming. I saw the chance to make this pick, and I put in the chat, if somebody snipes him, I'm throwing my PC off of a balcony, because that's how badly I wanted this mon. I thought in my head, what's another use that I can use with Sableye? And I thought, Guts, Eviolite, Ursaring. This thing is going to take souls. Sableye is going to burn them, and Ursaring is going to kill them. This bear is just going to inflict tons of damage, and the types of moves and the spread of moves that this thing can learn is crazy. With an attack of 130, Hammer Arm, High Horsepower, Earthquake, Rock Tomb, Shadow Claw, Fire Punch. This Pokemon can almost learn one move of every single type.
With the 110th pick in the FDL draft, the Guelph Gummies select Haunter, Special Support, Kanto Region.
My next Pokemon I took, I needed something to deal with some fairy types. I was starting to notice that I had quite a few Pokemon on my team that I had selected recently that had fairy weaknesses. I was very careful about picking Pokemon that didn't stack up my weaknesses to any specific type, and I needed a Pokemon that I could not get hit by ground attacks. I was having quite a few Pokemon as well that had weaknesses to ground attacks that just really wanted to do everything in their power to avoid taking an Earthquake, for example. Like Ceruledge probably doesn't want to take an Earthquake. Glamora doesn't want to take an Earthquake. Pachirisu, his job is to take one-on-one attacks. An Earthquake, that's definitely going to hurt him. You don't want that. So I took a Pokemon with Levitate. There wasn't really any left that I was happy with, but this one could help me with my ability to do some damage to fairy types and help me with my ability to avoid some ground attacks.
With the 130th pick in the FDL draft, the Guelph Gummy select Fortress Physical Wall, Johto Region.
With my second to last pick, I really had a few things that I needed to take care of. I wanted another Fairy Resist, and I wanted a Dragon Resist. Fluttermane is a scary mon. I need something to do damage to it. I need something that can help deal with it in as quick of a way as possible. And the Pokemon that I picked for that was the Bug Steel type Fortress. This Pokemon has 4 times weakness to fire, but other than that, this thing can just absorb hits from everything. With 140 defense, this thing is going to be hard to kill. It's basically the exact Pokemon that I needed. I looked at a Pokemon that I could use to resist Dragon types and resist Fairies. He popped up. He's also, with the bonus of that many immunities, I'm not going to complain taking this Pokemon second last.
With the 133rd pick in the FDL draft, the Guelph Gummy select Altaria. It exists, Hoenn Region.
And with my last pick, I had 2 ideas that I was thinking about. Dondozo hadn't been drafted at this point, and it was looking like it was going to go undrafted for the entire thing, which everyone in my group was super happy about. We all hate Dondozo. We hate fighting against Dondozo. So if we can avoid it, we're happy. it got picked in the second last round, which is insane value. You get to build up your entire team with better bonds and then pick Dondozo that late in. Great draft by that player, and I'm really hoping that I don't have to fight that Dondozo team because it looks scary. So I need a Pokemon that can learn Haze. I have Palafin, but I don't like putting Haze on Palafin. It seems like a bit of a waste. I want something else. I also didn't really have a Pokemon that could set a Tailwind. I was lacking a couple of things, and I had two Pokemon that I was thinking about. The first one was Lumineon, and the second one was Altaria. I ended up going with Altaria. I'm not too sure how I feel about it, but I like Altaria. I like its stats. It's not super fast, but if I max out the speed investment in it, I can make it decent. And I really just didn't want another water type when I know I'll be bringing Palafin almost every week. I can't think of a lot of games where I'm not going to be bringing it, even to the player who drafted the Gastrodon. I'm still probably going to select Palafin that week. So bringing another water type, I couldn't make it work in my head. So that's why I ended up picking Altaria with my last pick in the draft. This draft, it went way different than I was originally planning in my head. I was going 11th out of 12. So I was going to be not quite on the hook back in the snake, but close enough that I can still execute good 1-2s and not have to worry about getting sniped. But the plan that I had in my head went out the window the second I came to make my first pick. I was like 3 hours late for the draft because I had to go to a thing and I sort of just missed everything right off the start. But when I did finally show back up, I was expecting pick number 1, Fluttermane, pick number 2, Chien-Pao, pick number 3, Chi-Yu, pick number 4, Palafin, pick number 5, Iron Bundle. Those types of Pokemon. Getting Pokemon that you can pair well together or are just super powerful, more offensive mons that people would build their teams around. And I was kind of right for the first overall pick. The first pick in the draft was Torkoal, which I didn't think was going to be picked. I'm going to guess most of the people in our draft didn't think was going to be picked. Fluttermane didn't get picked until 7th overall after Torkoal, Amoonguss, Ting-Lu, Iron Hands, Dragonite, and Chi-Yu. This really threw off my plan. The other Pokemon that went before got to me was Chien-Pao, Roaring Moon, and Iron Bundle, who were more ones that I was expecting to go around this point. My original plan going into this was to have Amoonguss still available and to go for Absolute Chaos. Being so far in the back, I knew most of the big hitters were already going to be missing, but I was hoping that the best support Pokemon in the format was still going to be around. I wanted to go full Chaos. My original plan was for my first 3 picks to be Amoonguss, Sableye, Espathra. The plan being skill swap Amoonguss or skill swap Sableye into Amoonguss, giving him priority prankster spores and just terrorizing, making sure that everyone is asleep the entire game and I can basically just dominate. That was the plan. The plan was just to make sure everyone that I played hated me by the end. But Amoonguss went second, which he's second in VGC usage. Yes, I get he's a good mon, but I thought people were going to be a little bit more offensive. But they weren't. They were smart, which was kind of annoying, but it really threw off my plan. However, Palafin was sitting right there. So with the 11th pick in Draft C, I selected Palafin. One rule that we do have in this league is that you need to bring every single Pokemon that you draft, all 12 of them, to at least one battle in the 8 weeks. So I can't just pick them on like a mascot Pokemon and not bring him. Everything that I draft, I will have to use. Here are some things about my team that I want to go over. I'm going to be doing like a bigger video talking about this with all the other teams, but this is just for my team specifically. In my first 6 Pokemon, the Wo-Chien, Palafin, Ceruledge, Clamora, Pachirisu, and Espathra, I had 3 Pokemon weak to ground. I spent almost every single pick that I had in the second half of the draft making sure I had no more ground weaknesses. And instead, I picked up 2 ground immunities in Haunter and Altaria. I did this for the entire draft. I do not have one typing where I have more than 4 Pokemon weak to that. I don't have any Pokemon that resist Rock type, so that's kind of an unfortunate little gap in my spread, but other than that, I have at least one Pokemon that resists every type. The type that I have the most resistances to is Grass with 6, Bug with 5, but there's so many Pokemon that resist Bug. I also have 5 normal resists, or immunities. If I say resist, it also counts immunities. So like the Ceruledge, Sableye Haunter, those count, I'll just count them as resistances. I also have 5 fire immunities, so I have a lot of Pokemon who are resistant. I have 34 total weaknesses on my team, 61 total resistances, which I made a sheet to take a look at how the other teams were stacking up in that area as well. I have the 3rd highest difference at a plus 27 for resistances to weaknesses. I am super happy with my draft. Obviously, there was a couple changes that I could make. We do have free agency coming up in week 4, so I could still make some changes going forward, but I am so happy with my draft. Let me know what you guys think about it. Let me know what strategies and weird sets and stuff you guys can think of down in the comments below. If you liked the video, hit the button if you want to see more when the leak comes out and see my analysis of all the other teams and players. Hit subscribe, hit the bell notification, and I'll see you guys all in the next video. See ya.